Everybody, welcome to the Yerushalmi Megillah. We are up to Daf Lamed Beis, where Halacha Zayin Zokta Elige Mishnah. B'Chanukah, and we're continuing in what was read at different occasions. So B'Chanukah, we read Parsha Benasim, like we do today, B'Purim V'Yavei Molek, again, like we do today, B'Roshei Chadoshim, U'Roshei Chodsheichim, B'Mamodos. Again, that's when the Israel would go to be there by the Kabbanis, that we read Master Bereshis, which we discussed the other day. Betanius, they would read Brachos Klolos, Emafsikim Klolos. So now the Gemara says Emafsikim Klolos, Elo Echad Kares Kulon. The Teichecha is read by one aliyah, like we do today. B'Sheni v'Chamish b'Shabbos b'Mincha Kohen Kesidron. Monday, Thursday, Shabbos Mincha, like we do today. You read the parsha. However, what we read on Sheni Chamishi and Shabbos by Mincha, and we do till Sheni today most of the time, that is not Olam and Cheshbon. In other words, on Shabbos you start again. You don't just start from where we left off on Thursday. It says, so you read we read on Yom Tovim, you read what's negay in Torah Shebiksav for that Yontif. Okay. Why not? Why don't we have one interrupter? We have two people, Aliyah. So it says, Al Tokutz bitte, so Am Reb Chibar Gamda, Al Tokutz bitte Chachtoi, Al Tarsim Kutzim. Don't be disgusted. Now, what it means is literally don't be Moos. In other words, you're splitting up. He's showing you're not interested in the Teichach. You're disgusted by the Teichach. But with dashing al tasin kutzim, that make him little bits and pieces. So you do it in one lump sum. Amar Levi Amar Kodesh Baruch Hu. And obviously today we do with the most kills. It goes to the Balkar. Amar Levi Amar Kodesh Baruch Hu. Ena bedin shehu bnei banim miskalim v'anim misbarich. He says something else. He says it's not bedin that I'm giving, right? You get up, you make a bracha, so you benching Kodesh Baruch Hu at the beginning and before the Liyah and after the Liyah. In the meantime, the guy gets cursed. So it's not nice. So therefore, give one person the whole Aliyah, plus you start like we do, you start a little bit before and you end a little bit after the Techacha. That's not the reason. We want a person getting Aliyah should get something nice to come along with it. You know, he starts with nice, he ends with something nice, as opposed to the whole thing being the klolos. And so if you split up the klolos, the guy who gets, let's say, the second Aliyah of the klolos, how is he getting something nice? Levi bar Pati, Shol Rav Chuna Elaine Arurayu Maud Yikrinun Chavi Vorach Lefnei Lech the Arurim in Parshas Kisavai, right? So you have over there where they stood on Hagriz and Harevel. So does that the same din as the Klolis? Amalei En Lechotam Brach Lefanav Lachrav El Klolis Shabbatayris Koinim V'Klolis Sheba Mishnah Tair. No, the only one that is done as a group is the Teichecha. Fine. Rabbi Yonasan Sapra the Gufta Nochas Lochi came to Yisrael. Chama Yisol Arvuna Safris. These are Arvuna the Balkaira. Kori Shiras Habe'er Umuvarach Lefanei Lachrei. Reads the Shiras Habe'er of the Be'er Miriam as one Aliyah. Amalei Vavnin came. Do we do this? Amalei. By Lainat Lazu, you're still not sure about this, but we know Kol Shiras Tunas Bracha Lefnei Lachrei. All Shira requires a bracha before and afterwards. I should mention that according to some Shitas, the only people that made a bracha for the Aliyah was literally the first and the last Aliyah. So the person, let's say now the case, the Kayin, and the person who got Shvi, they're the only ones who made a bracha for the Aliyah. And the first going away, the bracha for the Psicha, Shabbat Rabanu, and the one who gets Shvi would make Ashnasan Lano. Obviously, we don't do that today. So the Gemara also is talking about over here the Mevarach Lefanei Lachreha. There's also an Indian that the word Indian is one Indian in the Torah would get its own bracha before and afterwards. Now, besides the first aliyah making bracha and the last aliyah making a bracha, the one who got the this in separate Indian, let's say the Shira, he would also make a bracha before and afterwards. Okay. Now, so he said, right, so now back to us what we're saying over here. He said, Vavdin Kain by the Shir Saber, you make your own yeah, right, you treat it like the regular Shir Malay. By Dayan Lazu, Kol Shir Tunis Barach Lefnei Nachain, all Shir requires that. So now, according to Reb Chaim, who goes, Asya Sha'al Reb Simon. So he went and asked Reb Simon, I'm alone. So Reb Simon said, B'Shem Reb Yeshua, Reb Simon, B'Shem Reb Yeshua ben Levi, Ein lecho tom baruch lefanu v'lachra v'elshiras hayom v'aseres hadibros v'klos shebetoris kohen v'klos shebmishneh Torah. That's it. But the shiras bear does not require it. Rabavo, ani lo shimati. I didn't hear aloch either way, but nim dvarim b'aseres hadibros. It makes sense to me that b'aseres hadibros which requires its own bracha because since they were mepi agvura, they have a kind of a separate din than the rest of the Torah. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Bon says, Tumnasi Psukaya Choraya the Mishnah Torah, the last eight psukim of Mishnah Torah, no, it's the last eight psukim of the Torah, which talks about Moshe Rabbeinu dying. So Tuna Brach Lefneim Lachrein, because they were written again in each corner of Pshat, or who wrote them, maybe Yeshua wrote them, or they were written differently by Moshe, Bedema. So since they're its own Indian, again requires a bracha from before and afterwards. Beloy Kach, if I can understand something, what if the Talmud is well, and in this case, the last day psukim automatically making the last bracha because you're anyway, it's the last aliyah. So my answer is L'chein tzricha Rosh Chodesh Cholias b'Shabbos. Talking about Rosh Chodesh falls on Shabbos, and we have to know that the cycle that we have this year pretty much makes it impossible that Zayis HaBracha should fall out on Rosh Chodesh. But they didn't complete the Kriya every year. I think it was every 3 years, and they read it at different periods of time. So if you had a time in those days when Rosh Chodesh fell out on Shabbos and it happened to be Zayis HaBracha, so they were telling you that even though you're not going to be the last Aliyah, because you have the Haftarah of Rosh Chodesh, so you would make a bracha before and afterwards. Chaim asks an interesting question. He says, we just learned a few days ago that in those days, they replaced the whole Shabbos lighting with Rosh Chodesh lighting, not just like we do today with the maftir. So in this case, the Gemara doesn't make any sense. If that is the case, what's the Gemara saying here? You're not going to lane v'zayis bracha if Rosh Chodesh falls on Shabbos. You're only going to lane Rosh Chodesh. He doesn't give an answer. Okay. Rabbi Bon. Shivas Halavim lo yivchesu lo mishisha kriyais. The Shivas Halavim. Now the Leviim used to do what was called Shiras Hazinu, and they used to do this in the Beis Hamikdash and the Musafei Shabbos. I guess when they brought the Musafim Shabbos, and they split it into a 6 week cycle. So over a 6 week period, they said Hazinu, and so you had, like we said, it was Mishisha Kriyos. Simona is Haziv Lecha. What Haziv Lecha is Rosh Tevis. So it's Hazino, Zechayim Ha'Seilam, Yakivel B'Masei Oretz, V'Yar V'Yinatz, etc. Okay, and then it gets split up differently. Chaim says there was 6 psukim each in the first four, and then the last thing two were 8 psukim, each. Okay. Reb Zur, Reb Yirmiyah b'Shem Rav, Shiras Hayom, Shiras Devoid, and Nichtav Mariach al Gabi Leveinu, Leveinu al Gabi Riach. So the Shira is written, Shiras Hayom, Shiras Devoid, Shiras Hayom, you see, right, you see it when you lane it, and as Yashir. So it's written, Ariach al Gabi Leveinu, Leveinu al Gabi Riach. In other words, you have word, word, space, word, word, space. Aseres B'nei Haman, as opposed to Aseres B'nei Haman, Umalchei Kenan, in, I think, Yeshua, Nichtavim, a riach al gabe riach, levena al gabe levena, like we have, and this is commonly in the Megillah, right? You have the Aseres B'nei Haman are written all here, and then it says to the S's, which the Gemara is going to address in a minute, on the other side. So it's a riach gabe riach. Why do we do it this way? The chol Binyan, dechein loy kam, because any binyan built this way, ariach al gabe ariach al ariach, is going to collapse. It doesn't, right? When you space the bricks, and until today, this is the way it works. You look at bricks, you have them spaced out, where you have one, and you have two on top of that, one on top of that, two on top of that, and that pattern continues. This way gives it support. Otherwise, the whole thing would collapse. So we want the bnei Haman and the Malchi Canaan not to have a tekuma once they fall. Freit the Gemara, my kid doing the mitzvah leikav. Is this Stama Hid or is it leikav? In other words, so Torah lets is not written. Ariach al Gabel Avenu. Maybe it's possible. Rabbi Yosi, Rabbi Chananya, Barachui, Rabbi Shaya. So Rabbi Yossi says to Rabbi Chananya, the nephew of Rabbi Shaya, nor that you remember Kadavim Kaiman Kodam Chanusa to Rabbi Shaya Chaviv. Remember when we were standing in front of your uncle Rabbi Shaya's storefront, and Avra Baba Zavda Shalun Rabbi Zavda happened to walk by, and we asked him, "What's the halacha of Amar b'Shem Rav La'ikav that it has to be written this way?" Reb Chia b'Reid Rav Ada Diafo, Rabbi Yom Hashem Reb Zeura, Tzarech La'imra b'Neficha Achas, B'Ases b'Nei Haman Imon. You have to say that b'Neshima Achas and Ases b'Nei all the names like we do today, together with Ases b'Nei Haman in one breath. Amar Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Bun, Tzarech Shei Ish b'Rosh Dapo, the S b'Seifa, Shekein Hu Shonetz v'Nachas Kodein Kuntra. It has to be written ish, you know, and this is the way we again. There's a different pshatim in this, but Reb Chaim's pshat is pretty much the way we have it today. We have ish at the beginning of the line and vs at the end of the line, and if you look, every name is like that. It's Vaizasa, vs, and then you go to the name. So, and it's like that. It's shonetz v'nachas kodein kuntra. It's slipping and falling down like this kuntra, like a plumb line, like an architect's plumb line. To make sure the building is straight, you drop it down. And I saw pshat. Well, what does that mean? So it means that the carbonator brings down that the Haman, this is alluding to Haman. Otherwise, you see the children all going down, 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 and that's Haman starting at the top. That's what he was appointed the prime minister. He thought he was a Mamlech Malachim, and it turns out that he had his fall and he went straight down. So that's what we're alluding to over there. Okay. Rav Amatzorch Lema or Haman Arum Bonov. Amra Pinchas Tzorch Lema Chavoin Azochul Latoiv. You have to say Chavon Zochel Latov. And again, this is where we get Shoshanas Yaakov from, or Haman, and the Chavon Zochel Latov. And it's said after the Kriyas HaMegillah. That's what the carbonator brings down, which is again what we do today. Rabbi Yonasan Kad Tahavamati Lahu Psuka Asher Heglu Nebuchadnezzar, when he got to this pasuk of Asher Heglu Nebuchadnezzar in the Megillah, the Megillah says Tahavama, he would say Nebuchadnezzar Shachik Atzamayis, let his bones grind up. Why? Shekol Nebuchadnezzar because he couldn't say it wherever else Nebuchadnezzar was mentioned, which is in Yirmiyah and Sefer Yirmiyah. Why? Because because he was at that point he was still alive, and we know that a person was that the exact quote of the pasuk. He right because we know that there's a famous is that quote. Right, so Gam b'modacha melech al tikahol. Now it's even in private, don't curse a king. And it says, no, you're not to curse a king, but he was already dead, so we said, well, grind up his bones, he should never come back. Okay, so Bram Hocha Mesa, but Megillah was already dead at that point, so he didn't mind saying it. Okay, we said in the Mishnah, we said what you read on Sheni Chamishi is not Oil and Cheshvan, you have to start again from the beginning on Shabbos is Tani Oil Lahem and Cheshbon. That it is Oil and Cheshbon. You'd only start lighting on Shabbos from, let's say, Sheni. Reb Zura, Abba, Reb Yirmiyah, Reb Masna, B'Shem, Shmuel, Halacha, K'mishu Oimer, Eina Oil Lahem Min HaCheshbon. K'masnitin, like our Mishnah says, it's Eina Oil Cheshbon, and you start reading again from the beginning.